I'm Bret Michaels, and this is VH1's 100 Greatest Hard Rock Songs. We're about to experience the biggest and baddest tunes of all time. Over 600,000 of you voted on these here suckers, and now it's time to count them down. So let's do it.
In his 1984 hit, I Can't Drive 55, Sammy Hagar had a message for the world. Speed limits are for wussies.
1 foot on the brake and 1 on the gas.
Sammy Hagar is a pillar of American rock and roll music.
I love Sammy Hagar, and that is one of the best songs.
When there's too much traffic, I can't pass no.
He makes you feel it. Sammy cannot drive 55, and damn it, neither can I.
Illegal move from things black and white. Come and touch my groove.
Well, I Can't Drive 55 is like a real story. It really happened. All of a sudden, whoop, an officer pulls up behind me. I thought it was a joke. He says, "Hey, you're going 62. I'm going, wow. I said to the person I was with, I can't drive 55.
Anytime you get pulled over, take the Hagar defense. See where it gets you.
Sammy rode that hit all the way to a gig fronting Van Halen, who he was with from 1985 to 1996.
The Van Hagar years, I like to call them for no confusion there. It was some of the greatest times of my life. But after being in a band that big, it's really hard for people to accept you as a solo artist.
Sammy did go solo again in the mid-90s, but he also turned his attention to another passion. In 1990, he became the proud owner of Cabo Wabo Tequila, named after the cantina he opened in Cabo San Lucas. Yep, life is pretty good for Mr. Hagar.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I got to join Van Halen. I got to have a successful solo career. I've been doing this my whole life. I'm 150 years old, and I'm still doing this, so I'm really a lucky guy.
In 1973, Grand Funk Railroad waved the red, white, and rock with We're an American Band, a patriotic smash about the inalienable right to party.
Grand Funk Railroad came out with the American Band and created an iconic rock song.
It's just one of those songs that'll forever be played, forever be recognized, no matter who you are.
Nobody thinks that that song sucks. If you think that song sucks, then you suck. As much as I love Grand Funk Railroad, the only person that knows all the members in the band is Homer Simpson.
Nobody knows the band Grand Funk, the wild shirtless lyrics of Mark Barner, the bong-rattling bass of Mel Shocker, the confident drum work of Don Brewer. Oh, man!
They were kind of a faceless band, much like Survivor.
The original Grand Funk parted ways in 1976, but briefly reunited 2 decades later. Since then, frontman Mark Barner has moved on to a Christian rock solo career, but the rest of the guys are still rocking around the US of A.
Grand Funk Railroad is out there still playing, and every time it comes to an American Band, they belt it out like nobody's business. Great song.
Rock was having a tough time battling boy bands in 1999 until party veterans Buck Cherry laid it down with Lit Up.
Buck Cherry's been keeping sleazy hard rock alive since Guns N' Roses went away.
They're one of those bands where you listen to the music, love it, and then you go see them live, and it just takes it to the next level.
The first time I heard that song, I was just like, these guys are singing about drugs openly.
Lit Up was written in about 5 minutes in our rehearsal room. Just kind of wrote itself very quickly, and it's just about the first time I did cocaine.
The good times were short-lived. Buck Cherry split in 2002 after weak sales of their second album. Most Fans thought the band was kaput, but were happily surprised when they reunited in 2005 for their biggest record yet, 15.
The second time around has been great because everybody kind of wrote us off, and we knew we had to make the record of our career with 15, and that's what we did, you know, put us back on the map.
Today, Buck Cherry is still touring, and when they're not on the road, newly sober frontman Josh Todd hangs at home with the kids.
I'm up at 6, in bed at 9, and dealing with my 2.5-year-old daughter and 14-year-old daughter, and just been having a blast.
It was written by an albino Texan keyboardist, featured long synth and sax solos, and had absolutely no lyrics. Still, 1972's Frankenstein was a monster hit for the Edgar Winter Group.
Edgar, that's what I'm talking about.
The song Frankenstein, come on, man. With a keyboard part that break down, the most hard rock and instrumental to ever come out.
The thing about Frankenstein is that somehow it made its way to rock radio, and it's good.
Frankenstein was a song that I had written basically to showcase my playing a lot of instruments.
You know, Edgar Winter obviously had a weird childhood growing up albino. So what did he do? He said, I'm going to stay inside and learn every single instrument I can. You know, the weird keyboard that I strap to my neck, the drums, the saxophone, and it's genius.
When the 80s rolled around, Edgar gave Frankenstein new life. Among other things, he added a fresh video and lyrics.
I did later do a rap that told the whole Frankenstein story.
In a laboratory once upon a time, at work was a doctor named Frankenstein. Arm by leg and foot by knee, he created a freak of society.
These days, Edgar's practicing Scientology and touring with Ringo Starr's All-Star Band. And as for Frankenstein, well, it lives.
I love doing Frankenstein, and it just means the world to me to be able to do what I most love and see people out there enjoying themselves. So don't forget to
keep on rocking.
Next up, from the guys who brought us Dust in the Wind, is something just a little bit heavier. Check this out.
String-loving, corn-fed, and follically blessed, Kansas had it going on in 1976 with their proggy rocky classic, Carry On Wayward Son.
Once I rose above the noise and confusion.
It's a legendary tune, man. You don't want to mess with Kansas. They kick ass.
Kansas definitely represented Kansas. They said, look, we come from where facial hair is facial hair, chest hair is chest hair, and Carry On Wayward Son was definitely their This Is the Meaning of Life 8-minute song.
Carry on wayward son.
Musicality, riff rock, vocal dynamics at its finest.
We knew it was going to be poppy because it was just such a great hook.
Don't you cry no more.
It's a great song. That's got to be on Rock Band, right?
The band suffered a setback when some members migrated to Christian rock in the early 80s, but they lived to fight on.
We're 6 totally different kinds of guys, but we all want to make records and we all want to rock and roll, so we've made ourselves just endure whatever came along. We stuck with it no matter what.
Nowadays, though the lineups changed, Kansas survives, and while their show venues may be smaller, their signature tune is anything but.
To this day, it's always in the top 5 classic rock most played songs. I never would have guessed it would go that long.
Don't you cry, don't you cry.
Bombastic, super earnest, and for a while, the biggest band in the world, Florida rockers Creed had God on their side when they created 1999's Higher.
Creed had a moment in the late 90s where they were just the biggest band in the world. And their biggest moment was Higher.
They've sold a bazillion records, had a gazillion hit singles. Love their songs, man. They're memorable shit.
It's like one of these bands you're like, shh, don't tell anyone, but I like Creed.
and then you wait for your friend to punch you in the face.
Alas, the band imploded in 2004 due in part to Scott Stapp's outrageous behavior and problems with alcohol, as witnessed on Spike TV's Casino Cinema.
You're gonna have me drinking. This is unbelievable. That's what God told me to say.
I later found out that I had an allergy to alcohol, so it's not very good for me to drink, but it took me a while to figure that out. It was kind of an initial wake-up call, but with every disaster, there's a new day. The sun will rise, you know, and there's so much more to life than being blacked out.
These days, the other members of Creed are rockin' with their new group, Alter Bridge. And Scott, he's sober, remarried, working on new music, and ready to answer to his critics.
Not everyone's going to like what you do. Not everyone's going to like the same music, and not everyone's going to just like you as a person. You know, I look at it this way, it's their loss.
With 2003's I Believe in a Thing Called Love, The Darkness single-handedly revived the supremely awesome excesses of 70s glam rock.
When you first heard The Darkness, you thought, this is a joke. This isn't real. And then you listened to it and realized that it was awesome in its ridiculosity.
I love The Darkness. I mean, they sort of throw back to another era of glam metal.
I saw more of a tongue-in-cheek about them. You know, they were not taking themselves seriously.
They weren't serious because it was a parody of a hard rock song.
Parody wrong, not wrong. No. We're not a parody of anything, you know, we're a band. We're the fresh new sound of rock music.
Justin Hawkins wore this one-piece jumpsuit with the big open throat down to the stomach. Rock and roll needs more one-piece spandex jumpsuits, I'm telling you right now.
Justin Hawkins has one of the finest falsettos in the business. It's the tight pants.
That's awesome.
Sadly, Justin's health became an issue in 2006 when he went into rehab for bulimia and drugs. After leaving, he ditched The Darkness for his new band, Hot Leg, leaving the other guys to perform under the name Stone Gods. But who knows? Maybe they'll find themselves back together, rocking their mega hit someday.
I Believe in a Thing Called Love is like a shooting star that comes up real fast and then goes down and disappears. There was so much excitement and hype when they came out, but it crashed and burned really fast.
Note to up-and-coming bands. You want to get radio airplay? Then follow the lead of 80s rockers Autograph and write a debut single like Turn Up the Radio.
You know, the thing about Autograph and Turn Up the Radio, it was one of those songs that when it came on your radio, back in the day when it came out, you crank that up, man. That's a great jam.
I remember them playing that song in clubs, and people went bonkers. And I was like, it's got to go to #1. And it did.
That song connected on several different levels. It had the groove, it had the great guitar, and a big hook chorus. I need the music, give me some more. Everybody gave me a hard time because I rhymed radio and more. But, you know, it's rock and roll, man. Who's listening?
Success came quickly for Autograph, who got their first gig from a famous bud, Van Halen's own David Lee Roth.
David said, what are you guys doing in January? Nothing. We've never even played a gig. He said, why don't you come out and be the opening act on the 1984 Van Halen World Tour? So we all said, okay. It was really a fairy tale.
But the fairy tale didn't last long. Autograph broke up in the late 80s after their next 2 albums tanked. Today, frontman Steve Plunkett is still in the biz, writing tunes for movies and television.
I'm always writing songs for various projects, things like Seventh Heaven. But obviously when I hear the song on the radio, I still dig it. It was our only big hit. And my attitude towards that is, hey, at least we had a big hit.
At number 92, it's a San Francisco band who started out opening for Judas Priest and Santana. Not on the same bill, of course. That would be weird. Or awesome. Either way, here's Night Ranger.
Long before their mega hit Sister Christian, San Francisco's Night Ranger was rocking it hard but friendly with tunes like 1982's Don't Tell Me You Love Me.
Night Ranger's music is good old-fashioned American rock and roll, case closed. And I mean, Don't Tell Me You Love Me was the first picture that America got of Night Ranger.
They were basically just laying down the law. We can have sex. Don't tell me you love me.
Don't tell me you love me.
That song rips.
That's a shut up and f me song. That song should be show me you love me.
Night Ranger released a string of hits through the mid-'80s, but then things slowed, and in '89 they took a much-needed hiatus.
Non-stop touring, and it stopped being fun, so we stopped, and nobody was like, F you, or anything like that.
Don't tell me you love me.
That is, until their fans in Japan convinced the guys to give it one more try.
The Japanese approached us and said, you know, if you guys get back to the original band, we'd love to do a record.
So they booked one show, and it completely sold out. Then they booked another one, and completely sold out. And then they booked another one, and it completely sold out. And so we're like, well, let's just go do it. So we went over to Japan for about 10 days and played a bunch of shows.
These days, when Jack Blades isn't directing the rock and roll fantasy camp, he and the boys are rocking the globe in support of their newest album, 2008's Hole in the Sun. But fret not, gentle fans, Don't Tell Me You Love Me remains front and center on the set list.
Yeah, great reactions always with Don't Tell Me. I mean, Brad starts the song like, and everybody knows what's coming. It's like, wow! You know, everybody's like, just like throwing the horns. And
Pretty much the highest energy song we do.
That's wonderful.
The world is a vampire.
In the mid-'90s, Billy Corgan had it all. Hair, his alt-rock group, the Smashing Pumpkins, and an army of angsty fans for whom Bullet with Butterfly Wings was practically a theme song.
And why do I get?
Take me back to the 90s. From my pain.
You're a teenager. You just go, yes, Billy, you understand me like no one else.
It's one of those nobody gets me, I hate my mom and dad, angry teenage songs.
What's nice about that song is it's got this like, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm a rat in a cage. That is one of the best lyrics ever written in rock.
In almost any place in your life, you can relate to it. Doesn't matter how hard you scream, you're still trapped in the rat race.
Billy Corgan has a way to bring real beautiful darkness to what he does.
The Pumpkins dropped 3 more albums before a messy split in 2000. But Corgan never quite let it go. In 2005, he took a full-page ad in the Chicago Tribune announcing a reunion. But only he and drummer Jimmy Chamberlain were involved.
Bands change. I mean, things happen, and I think we should just be grateful that the band kept on.
Don't let the flute solos fool you. England's Jethro Tull could really rock, and it was never more apparent than their 1971 ode to a dirty old man, Aqualung.
When you hear the riff, you're like, stick it into high gear. There's nothing like it. It makes you feel cool.
Sitting on the park bench, my little girl, so if and intense.
Aqualung obviously is about a homeless man eyeing little girls with bad intent.
Not running down his nose.
Aqualung, it was scary. Greasy fingers smearing shabby clothes. This guy was gross.
That song in particular was just hard rock with a little bit of art rock in it too, very unique.
Do you still remember
The 70s were good to Tull, but things slowed in the 80s. That is, until they caused a major upset in 1989 by beating out Metallica for the very first heavy metal Grammy.
I totally disagree with the fact that the first band to get a heavy metal Grammy was Jethro Tull, because they were about as heavy metal as nothing.
Today, Ian Anderson is a new member of the Order of the British Empire, but he still makes time for the Tull and for his flute.
Great thing about Jethro Tull is that until Jethro Tull, flutes didn't rock. And I'll tell you something, they do now. Thank you, Jethro Tull.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Andrew WK knows the importance of a good first impression, so when he debuted with 2001's Party Hard, there was no mistaking his M.O.
I'm a huge AWK fan. That first album was devastating, and Party Hard shifts into high key.
It rocked in a different way, and it's got a huge sound, like a Phil Spector sound. And then you got this crazy energy that drills you with the chorus in your head.
You know, there's a huge void for party songs in rock and roll, and when this guy came out with a song, I was just like, finally.
With Party Hard, I wanted to make a song that was just pure energy. I just want to give you the sound of a celebration, and then you can use it any way you want.
There's a deliberate message in that song, and there's no confusing that with anything else.
The message would be have fun, be enthusiastic, and to go full bore. When it's time to party, party hard.
Lately, when Andrew's not making music, he's taking his Party Hard message directly to the people with his newfound career as a college motivational speaker.
You don't have to do anything. All we can do is what we want to do.
When it came to doing motivational speaking, it delighted people in such a positive way. And I didn't stop doing music. I just wanted to add more ways that I could pump people up.
Found on both 1992's Dirt album and the single soundtrack, Wood, a tribute to Mother Love Bone singer Andy Wood, propelled Alice in Chains from Seattle clubs to national stardom.
I love Alice in Chains, one of my favorite bands of that era. And Wood's a great song.
Wood's definitely one of those songs that you can rock out to it, but it really can tap into that vulnerable side.
The thing that I love about Alice in Chains is the harmonies that Jerry Cantrell sings with Lane Staley.
It's that certain harmony that really is very Alice in Chains, that is just that kind of creepy but beautiful thing. It's addictive.
Sadly, the band released just 2 more albums before frontman Lane Staley died of a heroin overdose in April of 2002.
When Lane Staley died, it was one of those very great rock and roll losses, because Alice in Chains was a great rock and roll band.
Yet after a few solo projects and lots of fan encouragement, surviving members decided to keep Alice alive. They recruited singer William Duvall in 2006, did some touring, and in 2008 they started working on a new album.
I've seen Alice in Chains with their new singer, and they sound fantastic. I mean, it made total sense to me that the band could survive without Lane. It's just sad.
Here's Winger.
With Winger's 1988 jailbait anthem 17, hard rock lady fans finally found the studly metal frontman they'd been waiting for.
This song was popular when I turned 17, and I'm not lying. On my 17th birthday, I got to meet Kip Winger while I was wearing a leather skirt. I loved Kip Winger.
Prettiest man I ever did see.
I love Kip Winger. Yeah. I've got 2 Winger t-shirts
That guy is cute.
I can't talk about the huge female following I have. Not on this television show. That's X-rated, can't go there.
As musicians, Winger had chops, but Kip's manly good looks could be pretty distracting, especially after a 1991 Playgirl cover.
I don't think that helped me, actually. Lars from Metallica threw darts at me because maybe he didn't dig that. Maybe he had a crush on me. Who knows?
After a while, it was easier to associate them with being made fun of on Beavis and Butthead.
Hi, guys. Check it out.
There was a lot of rumors going around that I was all mad about it, but I mean, really, it was a funny show.
Winger fizzled during the grunge era, so Kip produced music on his own until 2002 when the band reunited for a fresh album and tour. And while the guys are older now, 17 refuses to age.
I love to play the song. I'm not one of these artists that hates to play the song because I've played it so many times, but I embrace the fact that people dug that Winger was a big 80s fan. That's fine with me.
He may have been repulsive, but Marilyn Manson and his merry band of freaks knew big hard hooks when they heard him. Take 1996's The Beautiful People, for instance.
When that came out, it was so new and exciting and fresh. It took like the Alice Cooper tongue-in-cheek imagery and took it to a whole nother level.
The beautiful people, the beautiful people. The way he clicks on the vocal, that track really hits.
And it hits on the fascism of beauty in America and how everybody feels the need to fit into the status quo. And this song challenges that and suggests that you can create your own standards as far as beauty goes.
Beautiful People took Manson from creepy cult hero to Antichrist superstar. Now pushing 40, Manson keeps busy with music, art, and a new endeavor, Manson, his own brand of the mind-altering liquor absinthe.
He's goth, he's creepy, he's dark. What does he do? He doesn't make a vodka. He's not a beer guy. No, he makes absinthe, and he calls it Manson. It's perfect.
Here's my little hesitation. I don't want to drink something that's a funny color and named Manson. I don't really want to put that in my mouth.
Yeah, I'm scared to drink it. I'm afraid of what might happen.
Years after leaving Guns N' Roses, Slash, Duff McKagan, and Matt Sorum gave rock one more try. Only this time, they did it with a new singer, Stone Temple Pilots frontman Scott Weiland. The result? Velvet Revolver's Slither.
We must have listened to 200 singers a week for 10 months. And then Scott came in, and that's how Velvet Revolver started.
The best new band to come out in the millennium.
Velvet Revolver is just a down and dirty, leather pants wearing, top hat wearing rock band.
Slither was the first single, it went #1. It was very vindicating, considering what we'd all gone through.
They have the intensity of Slash and the Guns N' Roses feel, but they have that kind of a grunge feel because of the singer, and it was just the coolest.
After 2 huge albums, a Grammy, and a drug relapse, Scott parted ways with Velvet Revolver in 2008.
The Libertad tour, that's when we started to really sort of lose Scott. He started to go back to his old ways. So we finished the tour, and then we put a press release out saying that he was fired.
I'm not going to talk about those guys because I actually have a lot of love for, most of them.
Now, a Weilandless band is regrouping, planning their next steps in rock domination.
There's a lot going on that I can't really talk about. It's safe to say that we're just working with different singer possibilities, and it's going really well.
Famous for their terrifying live shows, shock rockers Wasp waded into 80s metal godhood with I Wanna Be Somebody.
Black and Lawless really wrote great hard rock, anthemic songs. And I Want to Be Somebody is a real anthem.
Hello, Blackie Lawless, way to go. Cry out!
It's not like a commercial, oh, we're going for a hit kind of song. That was following up his first single, which was titled I F Like a Beast. I wonder what he's trying to get across with that.
You know, I think Wasp had some really good radio-friendly songs, but the image, come on.
Wasp had this really intense theatrical live show. Tons of blood and tons of pyrotechnics.
Blackie was throwing raw meat to the crowd. He used to have a girl strapped up on a rack.
He had a crotch piece with a saw blade on it and with spikes. Very sort of dark.
We were looking for something that was a half an eyelash away from diabolical. Very crude way of doing it, effective more than we would have ever dreamed.
Now in his 50s, Blackie's kept Wasp going for over 25 years, regularly wreaking havoc on his loyal fans.
Well, you gotta respect somebody like Blackie Lawless for just carrying on the rock throughout the years. You know, he blows up his crotch for his fans nightly. I mean, that's entertainment. That's cool.
It's the only hard rock group ever to win the Grammy for Best New Artist. Really. Here's Evanescence.
Loaded with a hard gothic sound, the dark angel voice of Amy Lee, and guest vocals from 12 Stone's Paul McCoy, Evanescence's Bring Me to Life blasted the band out of Little Rock, Arkansas in 2003.
I love Evanescence. I love the darkness of it. I just thought the song was just so different.
Her voice is just spectacular. She just belts it out. It's very operatic, a little bit gothic. I was just blown away.
First time I heard it, I didn't know what to make out of it. Pop stations were playing Evanescence. Really, they shouldn't have been. This is way too heavy. But somehow, you know, Amy's voice really crossed over.
There was definitely a lot of speculation before our album came out that we would not make it, just simply because we were different.
Since Bring Me to Life, Evanescence has been up to their eyeballs in tours, awards, new albums, and lineup changes. But in 2008, Amy and the band took a well-deserved rest to just let the ideas flow for a while.
I've been home all this year just being normal, and it's weird and great, but the writing is definitely a little bit different. I don't want to give anything away, but it's still growing, still evolving.
After Ronnie James Dio left Rainbow in 1979, Richie Blackmore and the boys struck gold with a new lead singer and a blazing cover of Russ Ballard's Since You've Been Gone.
I get the same old dreams, same time every night. Fall to the ground and I wake up.
When Rainbow covered Since You've Been Gone, they brought this great hard rock crunch to it and made it this great kick-ass hard rock classic.
Graham Bonnet, incredible vocals. He's got one of the greatest voices in the world.
Graham did a great job. He came right after I did and did a really excellent job with all the things that they did. It was a good song and well done.
Bonnet made just one record with the band and left in 1980 after clashing with guitarist Richie Blackmore over creative direction. He struck out on his own after that, and Rainbow lived another 17 years before disbanding. Today, Richie is playing softer rock with his new Renaissance-themed group, Blackmore's Night.
Today, Richie Blackmore is pursuing his interest in medieval music. He plays acoustic instruments at Renaissance fairs, and they dress in costumes.
Well, Rainbow hasn't been together for a long time, but Since You've Been Gone's a great track, and Graham's voice really sticks out. And, of course, Richie Blackmore and his guitar playing, which I think everybody misses to this day.
It's Sabbath. Without Ozzy, strange, but that's okay. Let's take a trip to heaven and hell.
When Ozzy Osbourne walked out the door in 1979, Black Sabbath needed a new frontman stat, so they tapped Rainbow's Ronnie James Dio, who kicked off Sabbath Act 2 with 1980's Heaven and Hell.
Sing me a song, you're a singer. Do me a wrong, you're a bringer of evil.
Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. That's amazing.
When Ozzy left Black Sabbath and Dio came in, it was a straight-up band shift. It just became a different band.
Ronnie is just an incredible singer, and for him to front Sabbath at that time was insane.
The Sabbath guys just gave me so much more scope to be able to do what I needed to do. There were great holes and spaces to be a singer and to be a writer. We wanted the song to have it in two movements, which is hell with a really dark part and heaven, like voices doing the ahs.
I mean, it certainly appealed to us when we first done it. It still does. I mean, you know, it's a simple thing, but it's effective, you know.
On and on and on.
The Dio-led lineup of Sabbath went their separate ways in the early 90s, but regroup on occasion. These days, the band's still known as Black Sabbath when Ozzy is singing for them. But when Dio's fronting, they tour under the name Heaven and Hell.
I watched their DVD from Radio City. Such a sound, such power, such emotion. And I almost, started sobbing because they're so great.
The Sabbath. A great way to close out this hour of 100 greatest hard rock songs. We still got 80 left to go, so you keep it right here. I'll check you in a bit.